Hi, Chris Gellert here again with Pinnacle Training Consulting Systems. So we're now going to talk about the shoulder. Just a brief review again. In that first section I went through quite a bit of the anatomy of the shoulder. I want to go through the joints of the shoulder, hopefully explaining more about how the shoulder works, and a little know about the research that actually ties into dysfunctions. And there's one weak link that is clearly out there that I see quite a bit in my clients and my patients, as well as maybe some with yours. So the shoulder is again a ball and socket joint, which does 6 degrees of motion. That's flexion, extension, adduction, and then external and internal rotation. When we look about the joints, or when we talk about the joints, there's the sternum here. That's the sternoclavicular joint in the front. On top here is called the acromioclavicular joint. On the back side, you can see inside here is called the glenohumeral joint. That's where the humerus meets and articulates with the socket or the glenoid cavity. And then the scapula, which is the scapulothoracic joint, which moves on the thorax. So that's a little bit of review again from a joint perspective. We talked a little about the capsule on the front, we have the capsule on the back. We talked about the ligaments again and some of the tendons, which is known and also known as the supraspinatus tendon, which is the most commonly heard about. But let's get into the muscles again. So the 4 primary muscles again, subscapularis, which is on the front. So that is one of the pec muscles or pectorals. You've got pec minor a little higher. You've got pec major, and subscap is internally or deeper. That does interrotation, so that motion there, internal, so the humerus is going inward. On the back we have, remember, infraspinatus and teres minor, that's back here. Infraspinatus is along the infraspinous fossa, teres minor is just right below it, and they do external rotation of the shoulder. And then you've got, remember, your supraspinatus, which is on the top. Supraspinous fossa inserts on the greater tubercle of the humerus, and that does abduction. So most recruited from 0 to 15 degrees, and it goes up to 90, but when it goes past 15 degrees, the medial deltoid, which is again right here, assists in that abduction, okay? So that's some of the just basic review of anatomy, some more biomechanics, and some muscles. Let's talk about some research. And research is boring, I know, but if you can understand a little bit about research, it'll help you with your clients. Say you have a client comes to you and says, you know, Chris, I had an injury to my supraspinatus, and you're like, oh, I know what that is, it's right here. By the way, the research says, shoulder injuries, the most common area injured is the supraspinatus. The reason why? It's a tendon, which attaches here. So a tendon is weaker, it's thinner than a ligament, it has lack, or I should say poor blood supply, and most importantly, this muscle is very much thinner and smaller. So most common injury is to supraspinatus, and one way is, again, strengthening it, remember, is empty cans, which is like pouring out a can of soda. So the research shows in pitchers, in the elderly, and some of your clients that deal with just are older, maybe even, you know, old farmers, the supraspinatus is going to be the most often injured. That's what the research says. Now, how do we assess the shoulder? Well, I've got 2 tests that I came up with. One test is called the wall test, and just for professionalism, I think you can see here, you have a male take off their shirt. With a woman, you have them maybe in a sports bra, and what you're going to have them do is put their hands against the wall, feet shoulder apart, and literally all I want you to do is lean towards the wall like a push-up, coming in and then pushing out. And what you're looking for is basically, how does the scapula move? If the scapula wings, you know that there's probably a weakness of stratus anterior. So again, hands against the wall, feet shoulder apart roughly, coming in towards the wall, pushing off, and then coming in. That's called the wall test. The second test I like to use, it's quick, it's just behind the back reach test. So you're looking at how far can they reach their hand in the back of the spine, make a mark, and then again here, same thing. So you can take a measurement, you can use a tape measure, a dot on their spine. Classically, someone has a restriction of reaching behind their back, you can see that the pec would be playing a role. That would affect their ability to go backward and in to rotate. Okay? So I hope that was a good review that's going to know about the shoulder, some muscles, a couple of test functional use. Remember the research about supraspinatus. Supraspinatus, one of the most common muscles that I've seen is more often injured, or tendonitis, and a couple of tests that it makes it easier for you to look at your clients. In the next section, we're going to look at the knee, how the knee works, and some tests to look at the knee accordingly.